Hey guys, what's happening? I have had a couple people ask me questions about, as far as my spray paintings go, mistakes. A lot of people have seen the end result, and most people don't know and understand some of those spray paintings. I've literally had to restart a couple times. And I will explain about some of them, and I'll show you a couple examples of recent paintings that I've done that I've had to either trash or that I'm having to redo. My latest one is this. It looks pretty cool, but if you look closely, my stencil bled. Now, this is pretty common. There's a couple reasons for this. Most common reason is that I just didn't have enough weight down on my stencil to make sure that the stencil was completely flat over the painting. That's probably the biggest reason that this happens. This is actually an experiment that we tried. We wanted to see if we could get some stencils to last a little bit longer. So you can see it's shiny. My wife decided she was going to take and laminate it, and then I would cut it. So we went ahead and did that. She's using the other portion of the stencil for a birthday cake, but I decided to keep this and see how well it would work. Now, we used it. This was the end result here. And I think there's a couple reasons why this happened. One, I did not have enough points weighted down. And two, when laminating, you have the plastic sandwiching the paper. So when you spray that down, that paper sucking that paint in, and there's kind of a gap there between the stencil, the paper, and the media that you're painting on. So I'm thinking what had happened is that's what caused it to bleed, between not having enough weight and then possibly just having the gap. But yes, my paintings, not all of them come out perfectly. This is a perfect example. Background is awesome. There's a pink and purple and that spiral in the background. Then I took white, sprayed it over, and I lifted up some of the white and got an awesome background. I was super excited about the way the background came out and figured it was going to be the perfect background for the ballerina. I put out a question on Facebook about 3 different colors, and I was going to create a painting. I'm still working on that because the first one I created was a complete disaster, and I'll show you. Now this here is because I've used it as a deflector, but anyway, it was a fairy with orange background, and it did not come out well at all. So I'm going to be redoing it, but that's another one that just didn't work out. And then there's one painting that I've had to do 4 different times. There's a couple reasons for that. It was a commission piece. I don't know if you guys have seen on the Instagram or Facebook. It was a dinosaur piece, and the very first one I did, it looked pretty good. It just wasn't the right colors for the customer, so they asked me if I would do it again, and of course I told them I'd do it again. So I did. The second time it came out horribly. Same thing happened with this as far as the stencil goes. The stencil bled, and it bled really bad. And just sometimes the stencils just don't work that well. So I had to make it up another stencil. I try to use the stencils 2 to 3 times. There's just some stencils that, and it's probably the cardstock I'm using. I'm looking into some different ways that I can reuse stencils, but I've been using cardstock, and some of these stencils, after the first use, they're not usable anymore. Others I've been able to use 3-4 times. So this particular stencil just did not work. So I had to go cut another one, and I cut another one. I did it a third time. Third time come out real good. So another problem that I ran into is, once again, the type of materials I've been using. I ran out of poster paper, and Walmart didn't have poster paper. We'd taken the last one, and they still didn't have any more paper. So we went to Target and picked up a pack of poster paper. Didn't even think anything about it. I've done several paintings on that type of paper and didn't realize until about a week and a half ago, when we were able to get the poster paper from Walmart, the absolute difference. There's one difference, is the weight, and that doesn't matter quite as much. The biggest difference we notice is that the poster paper from Walmart, it has a shiny side and a dull side. And the stuff we got from Target, both sides were dull. So I was wondering why some of my paintings were, when I paint them, they looked amazing. I clear coat them, I'd sit them overnight, let them cure, and I come in the next morning and the sharpness and shininess of the color was gone. Everything was matte. And so I looked at my clear coat. It's like, maybe I got a matte clear coat. Come to find out is the paper. When I flip over the painting, it was a complete mess on the back side. And what was happening is all the enamel paint was basically being sucked right into and bleeding through to the back. So I was losing all the sharpness and shininess of the paint, and even if I clear coated it didn't matter. So I tried something, because I don't want to waste the paper that I have. So I tried something. I tried clear coating the paper first, letting that cure and dry, so it gave it like a shiny, slick side to it. That did help a little bit, but it still bled through. So, and then I compared the paintings side by side, the old paper, or the paper from Target, and the paper from Walmart, and there's a clear difference. So back to that dinosaur painting, I had done some other paintings for this client's other children. They took them home, were super excited, and the first painting I did was eventually compared to the other paintings, and they realized that her painting was dull and the others were shiny. So I got a text message later that week, asked me if I would once again redo the dinosaur painting. No big deal for me. At first it's like, oh man, this is gonna be the 4th time I've redone this painting and everything. But I looked at it as, hey, this is a great learning experience. Reproducing a painting 3 or 4 times isn't necessarily a bad thing. Of course, each of the paintings differ a little bit, but by the time I got this 4th one off, it was the best one out of all of them. They were super happy, which is the most important. I've had to do, that's the first client one that I've had come back and want me to redo it, and that's no big deal for me. And of course I did it for free, didn't charge anything extra. I have had a couple other client commissions that I have had to redo, but this was before I got the piece to the customer. And it just, sometimes it happens. Paint lays wrong, you make a mistake, use the wrong color. I'm learning on how to cover some of the stuff up. Some of the mistakes are becoming easier for me to fix. There's others that are just not fixable, and unfortunately you just have to redo the painting. And it's the most frustrating when you are just about done, just a couple final things and you're done. And it's a painting you've worked on for an hour and a half, 2 hours or more. That's kind of frustrating. But I've learned to look at it as, hey, this is a great learning experience. Each of my pieces that I have done is better than the last. And it's funny, my wife laughs at me because I was like, I think this is the best painting I've done. And she's like, you say that every time. Because it's literally true. Up until that point, that painting's the best painting that I've done. And it's been awesome to watch this build upon each other. So, that being said, my paintings are getting better. I'm getting a little more comfortable with using the paints. I'm going to be throwing in some new elements. I do have canvas. I will tell you the truth here. I am scared to death to use canvas because that's a bit more expensive if I mess up. And so I'm going to have to make sure I plan out things. Anything that's just kind of willy-nilly on the fly, I'm putting down on paper. Things that I'm going to plan out are going to go on canvas or other media. And so we're going to throw that in the mix. I also am super excited about this one. I am going to start learning how to airbrush. Airbrush, I can add finite details. I can add shading a lot easier. So I can do a lot of the background and stencil and everything with the spray paint. And then I can come back in with the airbrush and I can make some finite adjustments and really make things pop. My plan has always been 3 to 5 days of time for each painting. So I want to make sure that the time that I'm spending is going to be on the most important aspects of the painting, and that's the detail. That's where the wow effect comes from, and I don't want to be spending 2 hours on trying to get basic features and basic shaping and everything right. Because if I'm trying to freehand a face or freehand an animal, it's not going to look great, especially with painting. Maybe eventually down the line I'll be able to do that, but right now it's not going to happen. So by using a stencil, I'm able to throw down a basic shape and idea, and then I can take that and I can add flair to it. Perfect example of this is if you go to my Instagram, there is a picture of a tiger, and that was a stencil. I used that stencil, made a cool colorful backgrounds, threw the stencil down over some blotched out orange, and then I went through and I hand painted a lot of it to bring out the detail. And it's one of my best paintings as far as stenciling goes that I've had, and that's what I did. And so that's how I use the stencils, why I use the stencils. And I'm super excited to turn this up and start adding in different elements now that I'm gotten used to using stencils. And stencils are going to start getting more elaborate. We're going to start doing layered stencils, which will give a little more detail and everything. And then I'll come back in and do some shading or finite detail with, like I said, hand paint, paint markers, or airbrush. So that's basically a breakdown of my learning up to here and some of the things I've learned. And I'm super excited to continue with this, and I've been super excited and honestly wowed at the reaction I've got from my paintings and the fact that I've been making money with them, which never was the intent from the first place. I just wanted a way to express myself and put down my feelings and everything. And since I broke my hand, I haven't been able to draw. Usually I just sit down and draw colored pencils or graphite or something, and I haven't been able to do that. So I was searching out something I could do, and spray paint. I can hold a can and spray with my left hand. And now I'm starting to get usage of my right hand back, and it's skills I've been picking up they're blossoming, and it's super exciting. Anyway, if you guys have any other questions as far as my spray painting, my plans, how I've gotten into this, any other questions, drop them in the comments below and I will answer them as they come. And then if there's enough questions or enough of the same questions, I'll throw together another video and we'll kind of do some things that way. I can also do some how-tos on some of the basic skills that I've picked up, and I can start working on helping you if you want to learn how to do these things. A lot of it's super simple. It just takes time and practice. And that's something that I have had plenty of with not being able to work from breaking my wrist. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We will see you guys in the next one. And if you're new to the channel, once again, welcome. And if you're just visiting, think about liking, subscribing, and we'll see you guys in the next video.